itself, where are we going to be playing? That's really a question I'm sure a lot of you are wondering right this minute. Now, as stated in the previous match, of course, you could see the blue from Black Dragons. That means they'll be starting on attack, and Red Devils, the orange, they'll be starting on defense. We get to know that already. Super exciting to have that information ahead of time.
Also, one thing worth noting, because this is the first matchup of the season, we don't have auto bans. So there are 3 bans per team. From now on, if you recall, going in the same order as last season, when 2 teams compete, the map that they played on previously cannot be played a second time in a row. So for example, we saw Clubhouse for both Ninjas in Pajamas and FaZe. Next week, when both FaZe and Ninjas in Pajamas play, neither of them can select Clubhouse. It will be removed automatically, and both teams will get to ban 2 maps. Given that this is the first match of the season, it's going to be 3 maps that they're going to play, or to be able to ban, just so that they don't end up with 2 randomly banned. So, there you have it.
I think that's fair. It's absolutely fair. And yeah, that means that Black Dragons and Red Devils going into the next Latin American play day will not be able to play Oregon, as that is what we are going to be playing right now.
Yeah, so we'll head over to Oregon, a map that actually has fallen off in terms of popularity, I feel. When you look at DreamHack Winter, we didn't see a lot of Oregon. When you look all the way back to Rio, still didn't have a high pick rate. And I think people are realizing that with the way that this 3-site rotation works, you can't go to Oregon because you're going to have to defend Kitchener Tower if you do a sufficient job on both dorms as well as laundry, the basement floor. And I think that's part of why Oregon has fallen out of favor. And it's only going to be amplified now by the fact that each team is going to have 1 extra round on defense. It means that you will have to possibly go to Kitchener Tower twice instead of just once, which is not great for some of these teams that don't feel comfortable defending that 3rd site.
Yeah, and the only real defense to Oregon as a map, to be honest, right now where it is that, let's be honest, not a lot of teams are winning both of the default defenses on this map. It's still a pretty balanced map, all things considered. Now, we have the community vote for you, and we were going to bring it up on your screen, and this is going to be a really one-sided community vote. I cannot say that I am surprised. 78%, again, as you said, Black Dragons last season, they finished pretty strong, and Red Devils, they're the newcomers.
I mean, Black Dragons came so close to grabbing that playoff spot last season, too. Team 1 surged in the standings after a strong start from both Liquid as well as FaZe, and Immortals also climbing the ranks, too. Immortals, of course, ended up getting that 2nd playoff spot, but Team 1, at the time, now known as Black Dragons, for those of you just trying to connect the 2 together, they had a pretty good run, and I don't think Black Dragons is going to be disappointed with what we see out of this roster. Now, Latin America Challenger League is interesting. It was very competitive last season. Guidance Gaming went up against Pain Gaming for that 7th spot, and Guidance Gaming fell short. Pain managed to eke out a victory, but for Red Devils, it was clear-cut. So here they are, and we're going to get to see them compete on Oregon as we load into the map, and we get to see what teams ban what. Are we going to see yet another Valkyrie ban here? That is going to be the question. Our 2nd match of the day, Michael. Black Dragons versus Red Devils.
I would not be surprised to see another Valkyrie ban, to be honest, especially on Oregon. It was a little bit surprising on Clubhouse, but way, way better on Oregon, that's for sure. Valkyrie is just a better tool here, plain and simple. But it's going to be Ying first from Red Devils. And then you'll see the 2nd attacker ban is going to be Buck. Interesting decision there. Now, Buck is going to be really useful, or would be really useful, on attacking that top floor. If you come in from below, you can open up a lot of the floor. But usually, the defenders will actually open that for the attacker, so you don't really need Buck per se. This is probably a specific counter ban to somebody that on the other team, they just don't want to. They don't want to deal with their Buck play. It's going to be Valkyrie and Smoke, so as you predicted, the Queen of Cameras gone. That's so much information no longer going to be gathered by the defending team, either one. And Smoke, not a common ban. As much as that might surprise many of you, he is a very powerful operator, probably one of the most consistent and dominant defensive operators to ever exist in Rainbow Six Siege. But he doesn't get banned very much because, well, for various reasons. First of all, while he's universally useful, he's not specifically useful on many sites, as he is on the defensive basement on this map, which is probably why he was banned. But second of all, a lot of teams really need him as an operator. I mean, it's not something that you want to get rid of, no matter how good your opponents are using him, because you want to bring him too.
If my memory serves me correctly, we saw a smoke ban in the Season 8 finals in Rio de Janeiro, Mocket banning smoke against FaZe Clan. And Mocket started on attack, and you could tell that it really affected FaZe. And a smoke ban is often seen as cheeky, which is a word that I have used too many times today, if I'm being completely honest with you, for things that we've seen.
It's only been like 3 times. That's not too much.
I mean, variety is the spice of life.
It's absolutely. Do you not disagree with
I believe that is a cliche.
Yes,
which means everybody loves when you say them.
So you're doubling down here.
Essentially, at this point. So
yes.
A smoke ban is interesting. On Oregon, it basically means that you can't effectively hold off certain pushes that you see on either kids' dorms or laundry. Oregon has the distinction of being one of the few maps where you really don't use your hard destruction to open up lanes into the site. Think about kids' dorms. You've got the doorway that leads from Armory, that leads in towards Generator. You've got the doorway into kids' dorms. You've got the doorway at the top of White Stairs. All 3 of those doorways can be easily held down by a C4, possibly lesion mines, or toxic canisters. The same thing applies to the basement. Those main stairs, possibly dropping through the hatches. The back doorways that lead into supply room. They're double doors, but both of them can be held off with a toxic canister. Smoke is incredibly strong on this map, and it's interesting to see him get removed in conjunction with Valkyrie, Buck, and Ying.
So it's going to be a hold in the meeting hall for Red Devils. Dangerous play, that's for sure. We've seen it work out for many teams, but it's playing with fire, especially as GDN opens up a reinforced wall into the meeting hall itself. And the phone calls from Dokkaebi will be forcing Red Devils to reposition and answer their cell phones in order to continue to contest this location. Not an easy feat, but they are managing it. They still have 1 reinforced panel on the east side, as you can see, towards that main lobby. And they've also got Velvet on Echo, left unbanned, which is unusual, to support them from the tower stairs. There's a long angle, and from that long angle, he will take out Ion. So already a good start for Red Devils. They're losing a lot of control in terms of reinforcements, but they are paying back quite a lot more in terms of manpower. So right now, Red Devils in the driver's seat, especially as we come down to the last minute, and there are still both Maestro and Echo in play.
And you took out the Finka with the grenades as well, leaving no throwables with any explosive damage that can be done on behalf of Black Dragons. Phone calls just ringing away on the defenders, but Weitz is sitting here and just waiting alongside Mighty. You can see that there's a couple silhouettes of Black Dragons not too far off, assembling in the front lobby. And there's going to be VNX taking out Hugzord. A bad start for Black Dragons as now Abru takes out iBlacks. GDN is there, eliminates VNX, cannot find his second. Panico gets 1 for Black Dragons, but it's 2 for Red Devils to end round number 1, and a successful defense on Laundry's supply room will send us to one of the other sites. Black Dragons, not a sharp start here for this roster.
A very clean round for Red Devils, I have to say. Once they started losing control, they stopped trying to re-establish it. And I have to appreciate that they left themselves enough buffer to get away with that. So a well-established hold initially for Red Devils. Looks like they have lost one of their players, though. And since it was, of course, in the transition period, it will be a rehost, as they are calling it out. And we will come back to us. Hello, it's good to see you guys again. But yes, great job to Red Devil, leaving themselves plenty of buffer on their defense, allowing for some pretty easy dynamic play. The Echo on top of tower stairs was able to do a lot of work, obviously getting the very first kill for his team and setting the momentum in his team's favor. One thing I really do like, I have to highlight this about the Red Devils defensive setup, is that they had all the essential tools downstairs to immediately deny a push into the main lobby, or laundry specifically, but they also had their 2 indirect denial operators, Maestro and Echo, playing elsewhere off-site, roaming, yet still able to influence the site using their gadgets. And they also were the perfect operators to play above site on those long angles that we so often see contested by the defenders towards main lobby. And it worked out for them in both ways.
Now, I think these bans were very smart here. I know that you just touched on Maestro and Echo. It has been so long since we've seen both of these operators in the exact same match.
Yeah.
Usually, one of them is banned alongside Mira. That's typically what we've seen over the last couple months. You've got both of these teams that are now going to be in play here, and I think there's a couple things that happen. Number one, Oregon is a map where you will always need map control, and usually keeping a couple bodies off site is a requirement. You really can't sit a Maestro, a Mira, an Echo, a Smoke, all four of them conceivably, if somehow bans go that awry, on site. Think like Bank, think Clubhouse, think Villa, where you can seat 4 operators within both the sites. So you can run a setup now with Mira, Echo, and Maestro quite well downstairs. Upstairs on dorms, it doesn't really work all that well. You'll probably be sacrificing Echo or Mira. I would probably see most teams run a Mira or a Maestro. You know, you see a lot of teams will put the deployable shield by the door to kids' dorms and then all the way down to Armory. They can just sit and look with that ACOG, and that's usually what you're going to do. But the bans, the way they work right now, seeing a Smoke and a Valk off the board, I gotta say, the defense are probably going to take more rounds than the attackers. Just looking at the ban setup, completely disregarding the way that these teams play this one out, and I'm not really surprised to see, as you mentioned, how clean that defense was because of it.
I don't think Red Devils were struggling at all with those defensive bans, so I completely agree with you. I think that it actually worked out in their favor, and they looked very at home in that reality, it seemed. And this is actually likely, considering, I mean, the way that Oregon plays, Smoke is such a key component. It seemed like Red Devils practiced specifically for a lack thereof in terms of Smoke, and you got to really appreciate that. Now, it's only one round, and of course, as you stated, and this is true, you have to be able to defend 3 bomb sites on Oregon. It's hard. Not every team is able to get the first 2 down, but you know, with the rotation being what it is, I think the real trial for Red Devils is going to be when they get to that 3rd bomb site, if they are successful on the top floor, and whether that be the kitchen or the tower. That's again, those are the hurdles that teams are required to jump over in order to see true success on a half on Oregon, and that's why we usually see this go all the way.
When you look at Red Devils banning Smoke, you don't ban Smoke and then start on defense and not know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
You ban Smoke so that you can truck through those 6 rounds. Smoke is not a hindrance to you by having him unavailable for those 6 rounds. And then when you transition into attack, it's going to handicap your opponent. That's the thought process behind it, right? You're starting on defense, you ban Smoke, you're going to be able to play without Smoke. You're not going to ban Smoke and then get into the first round and be like, uh-oh, we banned Smoke, what do we do? So this doesn't really surprise me that we saw that start for Red Devils. I would imagine that they'll probably work a Legion in their composition at some point. But as for Black Dragons, their droning in was not that great. I'll be completely honest, they got caught off guard on at least two altercations, I would say, with Red Devils, where it was just read so well. And then, of course, there was no real effort to try to nail down Meeting, which had the 2 bodies in it of both the Maestro and the Jaeger. And when it did finally come out, it was too late. And you saw Red Devils was able to get those 2 kills very well. Didn't even really allow any transition towards the site or towards an execute to get that diffuse down.
I think that's the doubly confusing thing from Black Dragons, is that you said it, they didn't really put a concerted effort into taking Meeting Hall. They left it to fester as a wound. And they also opened it initially. They opened the wall into Meeting Hall and then decided, nah, that's too difficult to deal with. Let's go just attack the main lobby. So what they did effectively is open up an easy rotation for the defenders in Meeting Hall to influence the push in the main lobby, and then decide, let's just leave the Meeting Hall roamers and attack the main. That's backwards thinking. And if you open up that wall, you are committing yourself to clearing the main lobby. As hard as it might be, that is the commitment that you have made. Otherwise, you're just going to have to deal with it once they start rushing out to meet you in the main lobby in the dying seconds of the rounds. Now, that didn't really end up, being necessary, but it's making it really difficult to push when you open that wall and you don't actually clear out the Meeting Hall.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, look at tower control. That's where the Echo was. We saw him climb up there. How many teams have been playing operators up in tower, either on T2, which is considered the second level of tower, for those that are unfamiliar with the words that we use or the callouts, or T3, which is the very top of the tower? You're accustomed to somebody being up there. It happens in every single region, whether it's an Ela, whether it's a Mute, whether it's a Jaeger, whether it's got an ACOG and a Doc, a Rook, an Echo, etc. You have to be able to clear out tower, and that didn't really happen from Black Dragon's side of things either. But with no further ado, we can get into the match, and we'll go back to Oregon. So we were able to play one round between these two teams before an unfortunate disconnect on behalf of Red DevilS. And we'll go into it yet again, and it's going to be Kids Dorms. And Dorms Main Hall as the second site after being successful on Laundry. Red DevilS still on defense.
So, operator selection slightly adjusted here. Echo being picked, but 6 picked off of into a Legion. So this plays into what you were talking about earlier. You're not going to need both a Legion and a Maestro on this top floor necessarily, and the Legion, I think, is a much better tool to have. Maestro also, if bringing the shield, is going to be able to do that little pixel trick he talked about. Of course, just outside of the dorm's doorway. So very powerful, gets control over the Armory Hall. We'll see if that actually happens. It's not necessary. Overall, his Evil Eyes will be just by themselves a great influence, but you can give yourself every advantage possible. Now, overall setup seems to scream roam downstairs right now for Red DevilS, or at the very least, attic control. So you can see they're setting themselves up to have a rotation. Sometimes you would establish the rotation just to make sure the attackers are focusing their attention on attic. If you leave that wall reinforced, then they know that they can simply clear into Master, and they don't need to check attic because, hey, yeah, it's reinforced. No problem. The overall setup, though, from Red DevilS is very loose. I like the way they're doing the mirror window in conjunction with the attic being open, because that actually has a direct line of sight onto the attic entrance.
I was going to say, it looked like maybe that was just me seeing from the wrong perspective, but it actually looked like they'd opened up quite a bit of the hatch so they could shoot through it.
Which
inside
one?
Of meeting. The one in attic.
No, it was reinforced, but I think they opened up around it, maybe?
It was very strange. It might have just been something that I saw incorrectly, but it looks like it might just be debris, but it definitely looks like there's something going on that hatch. I'm not certain what it is, but it did look reinforced.
We'll find out, I guess.
Could have just been a graphical glitch that we're misseeing here, but yes, this attic rotate, it's going to allow a lot of freedom here for Red DevilS to be able to get in and around the site. But the bigger problem is that Vitz, who's playing as the Jaeger, who shot about half of his magazine all the way down through the attic towards the Master side of things, where 2 members of Black Dragons are, he could possibly get pinched out here if Black Dragons does something they didn't do in round number 1, which is assess and establish control of tower.
Master Closet Wall now being opened gives Black Dragons the lane they need to push the site and get the defuse down. But it's not all in their favor as of yet. Red DevilS have done a masterful job of avoiding death thus far, playing away from all of the potential hot zones that Black Dragons are trying to lure the defenders into. And Mighty has managed to work his way to Junk Tower as well. Good potential flank on anyone playing the West Window, but he's being droned out. His position given away is unfortunate for him. We also saw it go down earlier, so that's the Jaeger gone to High Blacks. Great job to the attack, getting at least 1 pick on this initial entry. And that was on the Roamer playing by Meeting Hall, so that's a lot of the flank potential alleviated. And Black Dragons can focus more on their site push. Interesting decision from Mighty to rotate back into Junk Tower after being discovered here. But could, again, alleviate that West Window pressure.
Is in a good spot to possibly grab one of the attackers, but it'll be the other way around as Panico does the unthinkable and grabs a second Velvet, positioned very improperly behind the mattress. It's inside of main dorms, getting marks. It's going to be Abru taking out GDN, but Ion is there. It's going to leave VNX. It's Mute. Now holding that new SMG-11, he's going to toss out a C4, and oh no! Doesn't let it rip. Blacks the team kill, but then finishes off VNX, and that is a much swifter round in terms of the execute, even though it took Black Dragons quite a bit of time to get there. And they will tie it up.
That was actually really sad to watch, because if he had detonated the C4 instead of fat fingering his melee, then it really could have easily been a win there for Red Devils. A nice attempt, though, just not going to bear fruit. And I think a better execution for Black Dragons. A big part of that was that Black Dragons were able to take out the flank. And getting that early kill on Vitz really did help them when going for the site push. Now, back to the top floor once more for Red Devils. And why? Because there aren't really any other great options, of course, on Oregon in terms of your defensive sites. They're going to go here until they go back to the basement, that's for sure. They want to win this one, though, make themselves as comfortable as possible. And last round, I think a lot of the mistakes that they made were honestly just strategic outplays by Black Dragons. Black Dragons, again, able to shut down that flank. They put their smokes in key locations to deny information to Red Devils. The biggest thing for me, though, has got to be Panico on the west window, able to take out the flanking Mighty, and then also Velvet, as you stated very astutely, really poorly positioned. His barrel giving himself away, and yeah, you really don't want to see that happen. It was essentially a free kill. I also would have liked to, honestly, you get droned out in Junk Tower, Mighty, you leave Junk Tower. And I get it, maybe he saw a drone on the way back to site, and he shot it too, and he was like, hey, I can fake this out and maybe keep control. But no, your enemy's going to be diligent on Junk Tower for the rest of the round. You really just got to play your strength as Legion and get back on the site to help your teammates.
I mean, the other thing with the way that Velvet was playing, just as a side note, getting back to where we saw the Maestro playing by that mattress, his gun barrel sticking out, it's very similar to what we saw at a Jackal with the C7E and how long that gun is. A lot of players would try to hold a close angle, and the very end of that gun would end up sticking all the way down. So
I know
could have just been him assuming that he was totally covered.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, but I mean, he wasn't. And that's on him to be aware of the barrel length, I suppose. I do know there are people who play the SMG instead of the C7E on Jackal specifically for that purpose.
The PDW is not that bad, but I mean, I also think that the C7E is one of the best rifles in the game. I think statistically, most people would probably put it up there, especially for the attackers here. However, 1 minute 30, first kill is going to go to Hugzord. That pair is going to rip right through Velvet, and yet again, the Maestro will not be a factor in any of the fights that will occur here as we are back on dorms.
Vitz with the silenced, or rather suppressed secondary there to be able to take out the drone without losing any anonymity. But the secondary drone will follow up and get information on Vitz's location. So he's not in a great position. Mighty also going to disconnect. We'll put this into a 3-on-5. So less ideal, even more so for Red Devils. They have been struggling on this top floor defense, and it looks like it's going to be another struggle here. The reinforced wall means it's hard to deny this defuse, and it will not be. Whoa, what a peek from VNX. In fact, I eat my words as I'm spewing them. Red Devils able to deny the initial defuse, but the frags are mounting for Black Dragons, and they have a distinct advantage thanks to the early picks. Blacks will get the final kill, and Black Dragons take another round attacking the top floor.
Mighty having some unfortunate connectivity issues on his end, and now for the second time has unfortunately had to leave the lobby at some point. I'm imagining a crash potentially as it'll come back to us, and we will once again say hello to all of you. That was perfectly synced. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That was.
I was just gonna brush it off, but
that was great. Dorms is not the play, it appears, for Red Devils right now.
No.
2 rounds. Let's not necessarily delve too much into what happened on that round in particular, because they lost Mighty. They end up finding themselves in what was a 4v5 goes down to a 3v5. Mighty could have made a pretty big difference, especially with that round being a bit closer than the previous one.
I mean, that's 2 rounds in a row that Mighty hasn't done anything on that defense. So that's also worth noting. When he was in Junk Tower, he did equally little. Mm-hmm. So, down a player, and it's the same thing for the Roamer as well. That's 2 rounds in a row that the Roamer off-site, trying to play the flank from Meeting Hall, has done nothing. So, I would say overall, Red Devils maybe need to rethink how they defend the top floor. There's not really much else to say. I like the way that they're doing open attic and mirror window from top of white, because you can get the angle onto the attic entrance, but clearly Black Dragons are not keen on clearing attic, nor are they keen on actually utilizing it, which means that is effectively worthless. And the reinforced wall there has really been hurting the defense in terms of denying the defuse. And that's not a struggle they need to be in. They could just not reinforce the wall. They could put a mirror window there and make a vault hole over top. You know, like there are options that will, you know, retain the maneuverability. And those smokes, I mean, it's a smoke strategy both times for BD. You need to be able to push in and deny.
It's funny because they've got a Maestro who was not a factor on that second round. The third round, he died immediately, it seems, into the moment that Black Dragons circled their wagons and realized where they wanted to push from. Which basically leaves you at that point, because you don't have a smoke, and they haven't really been running any other plant denial, you've been laying it all in the hands of your Mira to basically get the C4 off. And that's Abreu who's been trying to do that. But the one thing that works against the defenders in Kids Dorms is once the attackers can gain control of most avenues in towards the site, you know where the other players are going to be. It's not a very roomy site to play in. You know that there's probably going to be a Mira inside of Kids Dorms. That's pretty standard. You know that there's probably going to be somebody playing at the top of white at some point. Somebody might be playing that rotate hole by the mattresses, which is where we've seen Velvet playing, who's now been taken out twice before those Maestro cams can do much. And I think it's worth reminding people that when Maestro dies, those cameras lock in place. Now, cameras can, of course, see through smoke. His evil eyes are capable of seeing through the obscuring smoke that gets thrown by attackers. But if he dies and those cameras aren't in the right spot, or those cameras would possibly get taken out shortly thereafter, the Maestro really hasn't contributed much to the round, and it ends up being a less than ideal choice for them. So those are two things to look at on Dorms. Now, the good news is, for Red Devils, the laundry and supply room site unlocks. They can go back down to the site where, I think you said it absolutely correctly, they looked so clean on defending last time.
I think it's because they had a much better established strategy, and clearly Black Dragons did not know how to deal with it, whereas on the top floor, Black Dragons has the perfect strategy to pick apart the setup that Red Devils is bringing. It's really that simple. You know, it's rock, paper, scissors, and both teams are, you know, countering each other on these separate sites. It's not complicated. What needs to happen for both teams is a strategy adjustment. Black Dragons needs to figure out a new attack when going downstairs, and Red Devils needs to figure out a new way to defend upstairs, because they're both doing the same thing every time. We've only seen one basement defense yet, so we might see an adjustment from Black Dragons, but Red Devils, on the other hand, at least, they haven't shown us any adjustment while defending the top floor.
And I was really happy with what we saw out of them, because it's always on that first round, because it's always nice to see a team enter into Pro League and do well right off the hop. I mean, last season in EU, or 2 seasons ago in EU, we had Team Secret that came in as I don't know after they left Pro League under circumstances that weren't all within their control. They storm through Challenger League and they come in and they make quite a splash. They end up winning DreamHack Valencia as the team known as I don't know. Very shortly after, they pick up Team Secret, and they come so close to making it to the playoffs last season. It's always nice to see teams get a good start. I'm hopeful that Red Devils would do the same thing, but I haven't seen anything out of that Dorms defense whatsoever to give me any confidence that that laundry supply room is a one-trick pony for them on defense. And I mean, if their strategy really hinges on ban smoke and run it up on attack, then we'll see in the second half. But right now, their defense, it looks kind of shaky on a site that typically the way that Kids Dorms works is whoever has control of the site with 30 seconds left to go or 20 seconds left to go usually wins, because it's very difficult to take it because you've bled through so much utility at that point, and just the way that the site ends up working out, there's no real destructive capabilities. And without a buck on the board, you can't buck Dorms from below. And Sledge can't throw his hammer, at least to the best of my knowledge, so you'd basically have to rely on a Jackal to be able to use his secondary shotgun to try and dislodge somebody from Dorms. There's not a lot of tools here for the attackers to use right now, and that should be allowing Red Devils to grab at least one victory on Dorms, but my speculation will go to Laundry Supply Room, and then Dorms will probably come out at least one more time, maybe twice.
See, now I can only imagine Sledge as like an Olympic hammer thrower. Like, you've just put that image in my head, and it won't go away. 2020 Sledge buff throws his hammer. You can only do it 3 times.
We talk a lot about power creep. I think if Sledge could throw his hammer like Thor, I think maybe.
Well, not like Thor.
Maybe
The power
creep people would have a pretty good argument there.
I mean, there's a lot of good arguments for that.
Could you imagine if he could actually like throw his hammer?
That would be a little bit ridiculous.
Where does he put it, by the way? Just as a side note,
He puts it on the back.
Yeah, but like, how does he do that so quickly and then put it away? And where does he keep it?
I imagine he's got some kind of like. If we're thinking about this actually, I don't know why we are, but if we're thinking about this actually, I imagine he's got some kind of like magnetic, kind of locking mechanism going on there. Quick release, but also a quick return.
Where do they put the reinforcements? They pull out giant metal walls. They jack them right up, and then where do they go? Nobody knows. Operators go in, reinforcements come out. You can't explain that. No? All right. Let's look at the way that Red DevilS has been playing and try to put it towards a kitchen or a tower defense. Now, the roaming that we saw from them on Laundry Supply Room worked quite well, but Laundry Supply Room isn't really so much a roam. Typically, most people will stay, what is so funny?
Nothing.
I just pivoted.
I'm sorry.
It was a pivot.
The comedy hit me late. The basement? Was it the basement?
When you're defending Laundry Supply Room.
Yeah.
And you need to basically keep people off site. Playing the Go For, by the way.
Oh, that was gone. Okay.
It was very fast.
Go For it.
If you're not quick enough to know that link, you're not quick enough to play in Go Fors.
And that as well.
There you go.
There's the news.
But in all reality, I don't think a lot of people realize that there is actually a Pro League website. And a lot of people will be like, when are the next Pro League matches? What teams are playing? What happened with, we have a website, proleague.com/R6. Please go to it.
Really? No.
Please.
I cannot, I think it's one of the most commonly asked questions is, when are the matches happening? And it's all there. It's really great. It's an excellent resource. And aside from that, just tracking the progress of Pro League. If you actually happen to miss any of the matches, it does happen. I understand. The progress is tracked. So, yeah. I believe, we
are good to go now. So it looks like we're going to be starting in just a second here, as all of the players are back in the lobby, and we'll head back into Oregon for our 4th round here between Black Dragons and Red DevilS. And in case you are just joining us, first round went to Red DevilS, a successful defense of the laundry room and supply room, and then they headed upstairs to kids' dorms, where Black Dragons managed to take both attacking rounds. And well, we're going to head in, and it looks like it's going to be laundry room and supply room for Red DevilS for the 4th round. Unsurprising, given their success here the first time they defended it.
Now, of course, the question, can they really replicate it? Because we did see Black Dragons stumble quite significantly on their first attempt attacking the bottom floor. And you gotta imagine, Black Dragons with their pedigree are going to be capable of adjusting the strategy, given their lack of success in their previous attempt. Now, if they're able to adjust, that would be the thing that Red DevilS was not capable of when defending the top floor. And that will be, of course, again, that experience shining through for Black Dragons that will very likely, in the long run, get them the win. But it's still a question. We won't know until this round has concluded. So, overall, operator selection, very similar for Red DevilS, and in fact I believe the same, and it's going to be an excellent lineup, all things considered here, for defending the bottom floor. A big part of it, again, going to be those 2 off-site roamers, Mighty and Velvet. They will be able to indirectly deny the defuse from Meeting Hall and Tower. So what we need to see here from Black Dragons, you brought this up, and it's absolutely true, is a clear of Tower. And it looks like, based on their spawn alone, that is exactly what Black Dragons intend to give us. If they're able to clear out Tower, it will throw a wrench in the plans for Red DevilS and make their defense that much harder.
A lot of action here just in terms of gunshots, as you hear C75 of iBlacks going off, you hear the carbine going off, you hear Mighty's Bailiff go off as well. As I don't know exactly what intel Red DevilS is getting, but they do look like they're more prepared for a possible tower take. Now, this is good that Black Dragons has corrected the course that they had on the very first round, where they didn't focus on tower really at all. And that basically ended up being a major issue for them. And a big part of that was Velvet, the Echo, who is playing in and around tower, and well, he's not going to be long for this earth at all. He gets absolutely pulverized by multiple members of Black Dragons.
And this is exactly what we were discussing earlier. An on-the-fly decision made by Black Dragons, and granted, they had a lot of time to calculate this decision, thanks to the rehost. But at the same time, they were able to execute this new strategy so flawlessly, so efficiently, and it was the perfect counter to how their opponents were setting up. And yeah, Red DevilS had the same time that Black Dragons did to adjust their strategy. They probably should have seen this coming and tried to mix things up a little bit, but they stuck to their guns, and it's cost them already a very crucial operator.
I mean, this happens a lot with teams that are newer to Pro League, is that they only have a couple strategies that they stick to, and I mean, it takes a while for them to really be able to develop them, because you really need to step your game up after you leave Challenger League. The caliber of competition is so much higher. And I think there's a pressure on teams to be able to compete and get a little bit cutesy by coming up with as many strats as you can. And well, once a team reads you, that can basically be all she wrote. So, focusing on this round, not a ton of time left. We are under a minute. There's going to be a logic bomb that will almost certainly signal Black Dragon's push in towards the site. It's going to be Mighty contesting with the Jackal of Hugzord, and say goodbye to Hugzord. Mighty will win this one, and he ends up proving that a Maestro can be extremely beneficial. Panico will at least refrag onto VNX and prompt the rest of Red DevilS, who are currently holding down inside of Laundry Room, to have to try to look over towards Supply Room. And there you go, Ion will dance around Mighty's bullets, traded off by Abru, traded off himself by Panico and iBlacks, snagging that final kill. And it doesn't matter what site it is, Black Dragons are just gonna run over top of the defenders. They look fired up.
Now, you could still expect to see another basement coming out of Red DevilS despite their lack of success in just that round, because let's be honest, it was one of their closer rounds that they've managed to lose. Now, and then I'll add to that the fact that they won it the first time around. Now, well, again, we need to see from Red DevilS is just a very basic strategy adjustment. It feels weird that it keeps coming back to this, but the honest truth is that, yes, Black Dragons are changing their strategy when they need to, and Red DevilS isn't. I wonder if they will here. Now, one thing that does give me hope is that they have six-picked into a dog off of an Echo. Now, I hear you saying, but Kickstar, Echo is clearly the superior operator, and in most cases, you are correct. And in fact, possibly in this case as well. But it screams that Red DevilS are trying to change their strategy. And that, again, is the most crucial thing here. They're not relying on the off-site play of the Echo Maestro combination, or so I would hope, based on that one lone adjustment. And again, hopefully they give us something slightly different. So far, the strategy, the setup seems to be the same. But again, the positioning when the actual round starts, I think will be the most important thing.
I mean, you got to imagine for Red DevilS, they're probably going to focus less on the tower push. Like you mentioned, it worked well the first time, but the second time you got to try new things, you got to change things up. And tower was not the play last round at all, especially not when Red DevilS are letting what should be a pretty good defensive map here, or matchup rather, slip away for the time being. I do stand corrected, though, because Velvet from Red DevilS is still going to be playing over on the tower side of things, but he's going to be playing on the main floor of tower, just towards the back of the site, which is referred to as Harry Potter.
Yeah, definitely subdued, though. Not nearly as aggressive. I believe he was on Tier 2, Tier 3 last time he was playing in tower.
Yeah, he was all the way at the top.
Yeah,
T3.
Which is why he got taken out so easily. Black Dragon's not going to be able to get that kill this time around. You can see Vitz trying to lay some delay down here as he puts his bullets onto the other side of Attic. He will drop down. It's nice and safe and snug inside of Meeting Hall. But the problem is, these two Meeting Hall players are being marked right now by the drones from Black Dragon, and they will be forced even further down into the site. And they honestly did not waste much time at all. Just a minute, which is not great.
Attackers have located a bomb.
But they did fall off with their lives intact. There are a number of teams in North America who will do this on Oregon as well, and it's a perfectly viable strategy. But look at Red Devils right now. All 5 members of this team just held within the site, all looking at different angles, and that means you have 0 map control at this point. And if there's any throwables, which you can see in the hands of Ion, indeed there are in 2 smokes apiece in both Hugzord and iBlacks. There's a lot of disruption here that's very possible from Black Dragon's side of things if they can keep control of those hatches.
And this positioning right now from the defense is going to be uncomfortable for both teams. It's going to mean that when we come down to the actual site push, it'll be a down and dirty brawl. And it will be, I'm sure, very hard to predict the outcome of that brawl once we get into it. As you can see, though, the DevilS, I think pretty wise, just going to be waiting for the push to come out. They don't have any really other good options at this moment in time. Mighty, though, will be downed, I believe, or possibly just lit. No, he will be down. Luckily, there is a dock in place, so he should be recovered, and yes, he is. With 75 HP, that's the dock doing his work.
A C4 in hand here as everybody from Red Devils looking back towards the supply room site. Panico and Hugzord starting things off with Ion and iBlacks jumping in. Panico gets taken out by a C4. And VNX putting in a lot of work. The Mute with 2 big kills, but he's going to need to reload. He's only got 7 bullets in his magazine right now. A diffuser going down successfully from Black Dragons. He said his job is going to get even harder. Saving one of the logic bombs from Dokkaebi for the post plant will give away VNX's position as he wanders out almost aimlessly, and while he and GDN will just miss the first couple shots, but the Thermite will make the correction needed and take out what little was left of the Mute on Red Devil's side of things. And now this is 4 in a row for Black Dragons, and they have now taken Laundry twice after losing it the first time. Troubling times for Red Devils.
It looked so good for the newcomers early in this match, but since that first round, they really have struggled. Black Dragons always having an answer for the Red Devils set up. This could change as we take a transition here, coming close to the end of the first half, but Red Devils is very likely going to need to recover this last round of the first half if they want any chance of bringing it back in the second. They'll be going to the basement for the 3rd time in a row, the 4th time total as their final defense. They have brought a very similar, in fact, the same as most of their defenses set up. They brought the Echo, so no more Doc. 1 change from the last round, but again, it's a change back to the familiar, as this is the setup that they were bringing in previous rounds. So, might not be ideal for Red Devils. I honestly fear for them a little bit. I am guessing here, and this is pure guessing, but I am guessing that Black Dragons are probably going to just back to a main lobby take, considering they just did a tower take twice in a row. And no, in fact, I stand corrected. They are so sure in their ability to take from the tower, they will be committing to it once more. Rightfully so, considering the time that they attacked from the tower, they met with 0 success. In fact, it was their most crushing defeat. So they're going to assume that Red Devils have not adjusted for a back take after they faced a back take twice in a row. They're starting with 3 anchors in the site, and they have set a lot of utility facing towards the main lobby. So I think Red Devils is on the same thought process that I'm on. It's that, oh, Black Dragons have attacked back twice. They're going to go to the front this time. And they're wrong if that's what they're thinking.
I mean, yeah, Black Dragons looks like they're just going to do the same thing. I mean, some teams will decide to switch it up because I think they realize that, hey, we can't get away with this a 3rd time. But if you're confident in your abilities, which honestly,
yeah,
Black Dragons should be with the last 2 times that they've attacked this laundry supply defense of Red Devils, Black Dragons should be in a position where they can get away with this a 3rd time.
You know, I'm not saying that they're not going to get away with it, to be honest, and I agree with you. I think based on how they've been performing, I wouldn't be surprised if they take this round. I just, you know, it's just a little bit of dancing in terms of the strategy decision-making from both teams. Thermite there, going to open up the drop down into box, and that's a good avenue to drop. It's probably the safest one, all things considered, on this bottom floor. It will be easily held, though, from the position that the defenders are playing right this minute.
The same position that we're going to see Hugzord playing, and we saw the Jackal down here last time around. It's going to be a Capitao now for Black Dragons playing on the back stairs, just watching, eagerly waiting for somebody to tempt him and possibly give a little bit of a test of his reflexes. Still a minute to go, and you can see Velvet is repositioning that Yokai drone towards the back where the Mira of Abreu is also playing. So Red Devils is now anticipating this back tower push.
Yeah, but you can see Nine Blacks with some great information here at the bottom of main lobby stairs, or laundry stairs. He's not going to seize the opportunity that's available to him just yet. He's waiting for a better time, better moment. Hugzord will get the first kill. A poorly placed Firebolt, though, is going to delay the push just ever so slightly. Luckily for the attacking team, they have time, though, and they will get another entry frag, and another as iBlacks from behind finally gets Vitz. He will be right in the scope of VNX, though, able to get a kill, and 2 for Velvet will even us out to a 2-on-2. Echo in play, and he's going to be able to deny the defuse plant. Or no, he hits the wrong person, and GDN popping up right after will get the frag. Ion with the cover in the hallway will get the final one, and that ends the first half.
Absolutely dominating performance that looked like it was swinging back in Red Devil's favor off of both VNX and Velvet, but that's all that really comes of it. Bad target prioritization with that Yokai drone to hit the wrong person. Hits the Ash to disorient her, but doesn't grab the Thermite who is on defuse. Now, from where I saw, or from what I saw of the Yokai, should have been in position to be able to take out the Thermite who was in the middle of a plant, but I think the decision was made was let's hit the Ash and try to pick off the Ash, and then as the Thermite gets off of the plant, you can possibly take care of him, but ultimately you want to stop the plant more than anything and have somebody else try to take care of the Ash. That's just not good. Not exactly the best way.
And your point is furthered by the fact that it was in the dying seconds of the round. I mean, you don't really have a choice. The attackers have to plant. Why would you not deny them? I mean, it must have been a bad angle. There is no way the Echo had line of sight on the planter and just decided not to hit him. So unfortunate is the word I'm going to use to describe that round for Red Devils.
We now see exactly why Red Devils banned the smoke. If you take a look, after looking like he was going to run with the Glass, Velvet 6 picked onto the Blitz. They've got a Blitz, they've got a Montaigne, they've got a Finka, and they've got an Ash. And now you can begin to understand why the smoke ban came in. This is a lineup that we have seen teams run in Latin America. It is a very specific regional meta that we see. And oh my.
So let's break it down. What's going on here? Why do we have 2 shields? What's with the Finka? So, as you stated, the Finka pick, that's the smoke ban explained through and through. There's nothing really else to be said about that. The double shield, as I'm sure many of you have experienced recently, shields are very powerful tools of war at the current state of Siege, and both of them are very capable of fragging out. But you know what makes them even more capable? Finka's boost. So they're both going to be extremely powerful killing machines if played correctly by Red Devils, and potentially unstoppable. We talked about how there might be a comeback in the second half from Red Devils. If this formula works for them, and it works really well, that comeback is still possible. We're not even on match point yet.
And Black Dragons doesn't have much to stop shields. You know, it might seem silly, possibly run a Capkin. It might seem silly to run a Frost or a Legion, etc. Yeah. There's not a lot of opportunity here to really slow these shields down. And yeah, there's not even an Echo on Black Dragon's side of things. And first kill is going to come to Velvet. He's going to drop that shield and take out Ion. All the way at the back of the stage will be the Doc, losing his life, and some credit being paid there to his adversary as Ion from the Afterlife saying a nice shot. These shields, undisturbed, will just continue to wander down the stairs, fully extended as Montaigne with Blitz, the smaller shield, not too far off. Abreu looking to possibly try and get the mute charge and
Oh.
say goodbye to Velvet. Oh man, they managed to eliminate the blitz on a great shot there from the shotgun of the mute.
You know, it's odd to say great shot with a shotgun, but absolutely well put there, as that was a really narrow shot between the Monty and a hard wall. Not a great opportunity, but GDN certainly seized it.
Wondering what iBlacks is thinking all the way back here, waiting as he knows that there's some bodies up in Meeting Hall. Vitz is relocated. He's going to head back down towards supply side. He sees the Jaeger, and the Ash is just on the other wall. Mighty might be able to get the kill through the wall as they try to mark the Jaeger, but no, Hugzord takes Vites as he drops the shield. Mighty fells Hugzord back, and, well, Red DevilS right now on the precipice of being able to take this round. But it's all going to be in the hands of iBlacks as he looks and he sees the Ash, but lands most of his shots. It's Panico credited with the kill as things get frantic. iBlacks is still there, and the shield strategy doesn't work at all to match point. Black Dragons will go as what a good read and reposition from Black Dragons in order to shuffle those shields into a much narrow corridor and allow Black Dragons to capitalize on it. It is now 6-1 match point.
I'm sitting here absolutely flat. Just, I don't understand what was going through Red DevilS' heads. All right, so let's break it down. We're gonna go through the whole thing here. Okay, they start double shield strategy. They clear out from the west side of the building. They go through the most laborious task that you can possibly go through when attacking the bottom floor. That's clearing out west lobby. West side. It takes a long time. All right, but they do it. And then they start pushing their way in through the main lobby. Clearly, that's their strategy all along. That's why they cleared the west side. And then they stop doing that and decide to try and clear from tower. But wait, there's more. They don't clear tower, leaving two roamers in that position, able to flank the push as they drop from Meeting Hall. All of that made no sense to me from Red DevilS. A truly confusing round. Black Dragons luckily had people in the right positions to seize the opportunities presented to them. But I really, again, I have to lay that at the feet of Red DevilS. That outcome was purely in their hands. I feel like they had a really good formula. I feel like they had the right kit to take that round, and they just didn't use it properly. Unfortunate. Hopefully they will use it slightly different this time. They have brought pretty much the same once again, but you know, they got that double shield, they got that Finka, but they're going to be attacking from tower this time. So instead of adjusting their strategy mid-round, they're going to start with tower. The big difference here is that it's a top floor take, right? So they can clear the tower, and that means they can go for the repel. But the repel strategy on those north windows is not exactly perfect with two shields. It's overall, this is going to be, it's just a little bit confusing. And they've left Ion, actually, and GDN both in tower.
It's been a very different change that we've seen to some mutes now playing the shotgun, given that mute was able to get access to the SMG-11, and you saw that GDN last time put that shotgun to good use, being able to take out the blitz in a one tap with the buckshot. But you've seen Adrenal Surge go a little early. I think they were anticipating a much quicker push, or push back from Black Dragons, rather. Ion still watching from above. You saw GDN just narrowly miss a shot on the Montaigne of Vitz. And now Red DevilS has actually moved backwards.
The entire strategy with shields always is to clear out thoroughly and hold down your flank. They didn't do it last round, and they're not doing it this round. They're instead adjusting their strategy because they are meeting opposition that they cannot face. This is troubling for Red DevilS.
And now after abandoning tower, you see a push over towards Armory side of things. And you're going to lose the Montaigne after the blitz. A Velvet takes out iBlacks. And, well, another Finka boost is going to come out to allow a little bit easier and manageable recoil control. Knowing that the setup from Red DevilS doesn't have any ability to take out a Mute Jammer or a Bandit Coil means that it's going to be very difficult to get that generator wall, that closet wall, opened up on behalf of Red DevilS. And you see the floor is completely destroyed as well, which means that you can't put the exothermic charge down, which is going to be an even larger thorn in the side of Red Devils. Rotating over from tower is GDN. He's now situated just underneath the stairs inside a meeting with a C4 in hand. He'll toss it out. There's bad intel. Doesn't connect with anybody on the other side.
Blitz is poised and ready to push into Panico. Could be an easy kill for him, but he's got to deal with the crossfire. GDN, despite missing his C4, will not miss the SMG-11 shots. And Velvet has also been lit up by GDN on that long angle. The C4 from Panico finally finishes off the shield, but VNX able to refrag as he enters the site. Ion will get his teammate, and GDN finishes off VNX. Black Dragons take it. An absolute domination. That is 7 rounds in a row.
Incredible. And the first that we're going to see in Pro League in terms of 7 in a row. Now, mind you, under these rules at DreamHack Winter, we did see a 14-0 that happened off screen. So it has happened before, but excellent job from Black Dragon.